things, but I think I'm one of the luckiest guys. My wife Linda had on her Christmas list one year a compound miter saw. Another year she had a scroll saw, and the most recent was the lathe in about 2008 or 2003. And I started turning with her first words to me were, "You can turn anything, just not pens." We do craft fairs, and she has seen a lot of other people who have pens at the craft fairs, and they sit there and maybe sell one or two. And so I started out with bottle stoppers, moved to a lot of ornaments, do a few boxes, do a few bowls, do a few kaleidoscopes. I'm ADD and I can't stand to do the same thing over and over again. So this is a range of boxes that started with this one in 2008. Like it says on the bottom, it's my first box. And it's been on my desk for several years, holding paper clips and the like. The request from my wife was do a snowman that has a hole deep enough that we can put a $20 bill for your grandson. So, yes, yes. You come up. Oh, let's see. Nope, nope, wrong way. There you go. All right. You can tell that I'm not used to doing it this way. Return. Did I get it? Okay. Here are some of the topics that we'll talk about tonight. Making a box is really simple. It's only 10 steps. But how I plan a box, that's kind of the heart of doing these boxes, and how I design them, and then some of the other technical issues. And I'll spill the beans right now. Wood moves, and many a time you have a box with started out with a nice fitting lid. Now it's loose. Turn it a quarter of a turn and you can't hardly pull it apart. So that's the effect of wood moving. Let's see, and then I'll finish up with the tools that I use to make these boxes, and then I'll actually do one or two, depending upon how long they'll let us be here. But for terminology purposes, 3 terms that I will use. The lid is the top part. The box is the bottom part. I struggled with top and bottom and then middle. No, lid, box, and this little thing right here is the lip. That's what they mate with. And we'll talk a little bit about how you do a lip and what's important to remember. What did I use? Last slide, I said there were 10 steps. I keep switching back and forth. But the very most important one is number 1. Plan a box before you start. What's it going to be used for? $20 bill, an urn for my favorite cat when she passes away, a box that's going to be on your desk. We have cats, and you don't want a box for your paper clips that has a loose top, because the cat's favorite thing, and when it goes over, and that's hard on boxes. So, and this box had a very specific purpose. Wanted to prove to myself that I could make a box in a reasonable period of time to demonstrate to you folks. It took me about 45 minutes to make this box. No sanding, no finish, and I'll go ahead and pass it around. And when you use sharp tools and practice, 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 you get a finish like that. Oh, let me go get a billet. I made it easy on us. I'm not going to show you how I turn a square block of wood round. But what I am going to show you is that once you get it round, you put a tenon on each end, and you try and decide where your box is going to fit on this thing. And then if it works, you cut it in half. And the first part you work on is the lid. I'll hollow the lid, form a lip, or form where the lip will go in many cases. And we'll talk a little bit more about lips a little later. But in this box, I had to make sure that I had something that this would fit down on. So I start with the lid, and then after hollowing it, making sure that the lip is the right diameter, or what diameter I think it's right. And I usually finish the inside first. Then I cut it off. Put the other part on the lathe, and you'll notice that I've got the lip, the box, and jam chuck. Because what I do is I will start by forming this lip so that the two pieces fit together. Then, when they're fit together, I can start to finish off this part and also finish the top of the lid. This acts like a jam chuck for the lid. After this is pretty much done, I work on the box, hollowing it, sanding it, finishing it, and then I cut it off. Then I use this part that's left over as a jam chuck, turn the box around, put it on, and I can finish the bottom. That's all there is to it. But I say the planning is the most important. What am I going to use this for? Who's it for? A box for a 10-year-old is going to be slightly different than a box for a 40-year-old. The box that's going to sit on the windowsill while my wife is washing dishes and holds her wedding rings is a lot different than the one that the kid is going to get his $20 bill in. And kind of how will it be used? Like a fool myself up here. This one's got a reasonably tight fit because I don't want it popping off. For a candy bowl or something similar, I want something that's going to come off real easy. So if I know that I'm going to make a candy bowl, I know to make a lid like this. And so once you know what it's going to be used for, you can start looking at size. You know, this is even probably a little too small for a candy bowl, but This had a very specific purpose. My wife said, I want a box that I can put an embroidery thread ball into, have a hole in the top, and I can pull the thread out, and I don't have to worry about either the spool rolling across the floor or the cat getting it. So the cat isn't going to get into this one. It's fairly tight. That's about the right size for her spool or her ball, and she's happy. This one I did not plan. And for years it sat on the shelf wondering, what am I going to do with it? And finally I listened to guys talking about urns and thought, that's about what this ought to be. So planning, I would have done something different, used that pretty wood for something else. Now, proportions. We talk about using the golden ratio. A box that's 2/3 on the bottom and 1/3 on the top for pretty decorative art pieces. That makes a lot of sense. It really works, and it is very appealing. For the candy bowl, that's not 1/3. And for the box here, it wasn't 1/3. For this little box, which is a threaded box, it isn't 1/3 either. But its purpose is for a lady to put some pills in, close it up, stick it in her purse, and has them with her all the time. I found out one thing when I tried to sell a bunch of these. They didn't sell. And I finally realized, you put this in your purse, Robin, you'll probably not be able to find it because of the color and the darkness. So this year, I have done the same sort of a thing, only in acrylics that are brightly colored. So now, if Robin puts it in her purse, she'll be easily able to find it. So, and then what will the outside shape be? You got to think about that before you start cutting, because if I had made this a straight wall, then I would have had troubles trying to figure out how to fit this kind of a lid on. And does the wood really look decent with a pointy lid? Yeah. So that is all involved in the planning. As far as the wood types, I was expecting somebody to ask, what kind of wood do you like to use? Dry wood, free wood. As you can see, there's almost nothing here that is duplicated in wood types. So I use almost everything. I even thread little wooden boxes like that very successfully. But this came from a dead aspen tree in my backyard. It's about as free as you can get. No, it wasn't free. My daughter and I had to plant the dang thing, watering it, et cetera, et cetera. But this one, 2 different kinds of wood. One of the problems is as it's aged, it has gotten tighter and tighter. And I was going to put it in my wife's craft booth this year and decided I better figure out how to make this thing a little looser. But, orientation, I have seen some books that talk about cross grain orientation like this, and you turn it like this. I only turn end grain. Main reason, wood moves, and wood moves a lot less around this way than it does like this. So to reduce, not solve the problem with wood turning, I do end grain turning almost exclusively. Wall thickness, again, goes back to who's going to get it and what's it for. A box that's very thin, I kind of have to put this one in a place where the cat's not going to knock it on the floor, because I have no idea how I did this in 2008, but that is the thinnest walled box I've ever made. It works. And now we'll talk a little bit about how the lid in the box fits together. And as you've seen, not all box lids need to fit tightly, and it all depends on purpose. Two orientations of the lids. One, see, which way is this one? This is the left or the right picture. The lip is on the bowl. Or the box. It's which one? I probably don't even. Yes, I do. This one. The lip is on the lid. Does it matter? Only from a purpose and aesthetics perspective. It's otherwise, it's going to keep the box together. And there are some things that you do have to consider when you're making a box and how the thing fits together. When I start with a lid or with the lip, I leave it fat. First of all, when I'm turning this and want to put this on and finish the top, it's got to fit real tightly. Then I can adjust either the inside here or the outside here until it fits the way I really want it. The second thing, in some of these boxes, the length of this lip, you've got to consider how deep the cutout is on the inside. I frequently put it together and it sits like this. I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't go all the way in. So I have to trim this down until this goes on. And one of the easy ways of helping to combat that is, see if my cursor will help me any here. Oh, well. The edges need to be kind of beveled so that as one comes together, the other comes together and it meets all the way around. And in a lot of my boxes, this one's flat and this one curves down. That's okay, as long as you end up with a fit all the way around. And the decoration oftentimes is to put a little bit of a groove or something just to make it obvious that that's where they meet, and not make it obvious if it doesn't meet perfectly. Keep hitting the wrong button. As I had mentioned earlier, there's two rules that I always pay attention to. Wood moves. And every day, wood moves. Rule number 2 seems kind of funny, but making sure that the inside is smaller than the outside. And one of the things that, I've already sent it around. See which one works. This particular box, the inside is straight up and down. And if it's not perfectly straight up and down, then you've got to adjust, shave a little bit off here, shave a little bit off here. And pretty soon, before it's straight up and down, you find you went from a quarter of an inch to 3/16 or maybe even an eighth of an inch wall thickness. So it is very time consuming trying to make sure your box looks the way you want it to inside and out and still doesn't fall apart, doesn't have a hole in the side or the bottom. And now a quickie on what I use for making these boxes. Very simple. There's nothing exotic there. And yes, I use a pencil and a ruler all the time, especially the ruler. You know, if you've got this thing on the lathe, the best way to find out what direction the wall is going, you put your ruler in like this and look down. If it's sitting like the bed is like this and it's sitting like this, you know, you got to do some adjusting. And so a ruler is my best friend. I say a narrow parting tool because I hate to waste wood, but you do need to part things off. And quite often, when I am making a lip like this, I'm using a thin parting tool, or I may use the wide parting tool. I may use a bidan to get this shaped the way I want it. Spindle gouge, square nose scrapers. You're going to see me use that in a way that probably is not as common when I actually turn a piece. But in calipers, again, making sure that I get things close enough to where I can go like this and know whether or not I've got a good fit, and then adjusting it. You know, I can't use calipers to measure this diameter and put it on here and know exactly how much to cut off of this. So the calipers are good. They get me into the ballpark, but they're not the end all. The second sometimes I use probably the one that a lot of people don't think of that I use almost all the time is a little handsaw. It's a $15 or so pulse saw from Harbor Freight. You know, it's easier to use one that's got a blade like this than one that's got a blade like this. And it's very dangerous after you've done part of this to take it over to the lathe and try, or to the bandsaw and try and cut it off. But the little saw cuts just, as a matter of fact, I use the narrow parting tool to cut about halfway through. And then when I use the saw, it goes right straight. So, and I did not talk much of anything about decorating, but when some of you look at some of these pieces, I used a spiraling tool on the bottom of one. I do a lot of lines that just kind of emphasize what it is, make it look finished. Now it's time to make sawdust. So as I said, I'll start with the lid. I still use one of the Novas that instead of righty tighty, lefty loosey, it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. I will never get used to that. I won't use the dust mask. I will use this though. I haven't actually thrown a piece of wood into my face in at least 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm very conscious about that part. I hope that gets tighter. Is that? Oh, okay. If I can find it. My trusty spindle gouge out of the way. I use this to bore and then also to open up the hole. Okay, somebody tell me how to turn this thing on. That was the first thing that I should have asked. Turn this one? Yeah, plug it in first. You can tell that I don't do this as a profession.
Yeah. One will flat, a little bigger than the other.
That says 0. Turns it on. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I mean, it's part of the learning experience. That looks about right. I learned to start opening up a box like this using the spindle gouge, dead center, about a 45-degree angle. I'm below center. I thought I'd. Now I'll get it up too high, won't you know? Yeah. Practice makes perfect, I hope. Then pull it towards you. This is why I volunteered to help with cleanup tonight. This is the other part about being ADD. I can't talk and chew gum, let alone talk and do turning. So at the same time, one of my other best friends is this little thing. Piece of 1x2, a piece of steel rod, a little screwing into it, threaded the wood. Then I can push this thing and know exactly how far I am into the wood. So I've got still about half an inch. I'll take it down a little more. Yes. And because my bowl gouges are too wide to use on something small like this. Not that fast. The big difference between me and Trent Bosch is you can see what I'm cutting on. And my rule of thumb is what I do here, the lip thickness is going to be smaller than what I'm planning it from right now. So I'm going to leave this about 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to shift to my square nose scraper. And as I said, I have a tendency to use this thing a little differently than some people. I'm going to go straight, if I can. Okay, what have I got? Oh, all of my gouges, the spindle roughing gouge, spindle gouges, all have red horse tape. You know, the stuff that they wrap around horses' ankles. Yeah, it's self-adhesive, and it serves three purposes. Number one, I can always grab a spindle gouge. And number two, since I work in a garage that's about 50 to 48 degrees in the wintertime, this gives a little bit of insulation. And I can't remember what third one was. If you want to look down on this, this is why I use the ruler so frequently. If you can see, the inside it's pointed in, the wall's pointed in. So I've got to work on making it straighter. There are other tools that I can use to help work on that. I use a 1/2 inch skew, and I can go down the wall this way. But again, my favorite tool for this is my flat nose scraper. Now let's see how I did. That's darn near flat, straight. Now I'm going to, I will put a bit of a where the lip is going to go into this thing. And again, I'm using my flat nose scraper. And you probably can't tell, but it's up at probably about a 30-degree angle. And again, this inside lip does need to be straight up and down. And it's pretty close. In fact, it's a little smaller in diameter up here than it is down here. And that will help when I go to fit the bottom to it so that I've got some shape to it. Now, the next thing to make sure my fit works right, this one I do use my skew, is to slant this lip in just a little bit. And then, well, can you see inside this box? The bottom is not flat. I got those silly little grooves that show up all the time. I use my skew chisel to work that out. Trying to use a part here that is not going to poke in, but will scrape that highlighted area out of the way. It's close to decoration. When you can't get things done quickly in the way you want it, you add a little decoration. Another thing about my wife being really good to me, she bought me these carbide tip tools from upstairs, and I use them quite a lot. Especially in this case, you'll notice that there's the center bump. Actually, it's a little bit more of a depression. So I will go in, get rid of the bump part, and then yeah, it's good enough. And now, good wood turner, I am. Turn the thing off when I'm trying to move this thing around instead of like I do it at home. Where are you? There you are. Again, use the narrow parting tool. Now, I do it a little differently than a lot of people tell you to do it. I make a short groove straight in. Then I don't make this wider. I simply make my tool a little more angled so that I'm opening a groove like this as I'm going down in. If this comes flying off, would one of you guys catch it? Well, come on. This is why I use a saw. I promised my wife I would not tell any jokes because my jokes are all like the one about the pencil with the broken lead. No point to it. Sorry. Sorry. Now I've got the bottom part of the box and my lip here. So the very first thing that I want to do is I want to fit this lid to this blank. So I should use calipers, shouldn't I? At least to get close. .57 millimeters means I'm going to have to take off about almost a quarter of an inch. Just because I brought them, I will use the square carbide tip. Maybe it won't squeal as much. Gee, I'm not even close. And the other thing about this is by using a longer blank, if you screw this up, you just cut it off and try to make another lip. You're close, aren't you? Look at that. Only took about 3 tries. I know I brought, yeah, there it is. Okay. Mess up too bad. Still a little too tight. Okay, we'll go the other route. The other one that doesn't squeal as much, the skew. Yes, absolutely. It feels pretty hard. Yes, it is maple. Free wood. Yeah. And as I mentioned in one of the slides, I'm slightly slanting this edge this direction so that these outer edges meet. And somebody had a situation a couple of years ago where they had something fit a little too tightly. And I said, well, you just grab it and hit it with your hand. And oh, that you dumb shit. Excuse me, I'm sorry. As long as you don't push it on too tight. And one of the things I did do, kind of on purpose, is I made this tenon longer than this hole. So it will go on, but it's not going to fit all the way. So got to work. Okay, come on. No. If I do, I don't tell my wife about it. That's one of the problems with doing this technique. Now you'll find out all the secrets. And that's how I get the lip to be short enough so that when I put this on, hopefully, it still doesn't want to fit. This is embarrassing. It's okay to have this kind of a problem at home, but in front of a bunch of friends, now you know what's going to happen. Yeah, that's what the tape is for. No, it's not going to. No, no. One of the no. One of the main things that I went to the symposium for was to see how other people do presentations, so that when I get a call that says, "Hey, can you do a presentation in about 8 days?" I don't feel uncomfortable about it. And the other nice thing about doing it like this is if it does come off skew a little bit, has a little wobble, I can correct that while I'm trying to make the fit work. Well, that's at least it's bottoming out there. So now I can go to, I know I've got it. Yes, my round nose scraper. No, this is not very round, but This is the other way that you narrow the thickness of the lid. Because I made a little bit of a divot here, and it's going to take some work. And again, the beauty of the point tool, when you got a little divot, it's got a little line, accentuate the line. And I'm not real big on making that into a bead, but some people would say, oh, that's the right way to do it. Sorry, I violated rule number 1. Turn the dang thing off before you. Yeah, that's why I have red or pink handles. All of my all my scrapers have blue handles. All 3 of my SKUs have green handles. You can get it at Big R or Tractor Supply or and now while I have got this, I've taken care of finishing the top. I'm going to want this part and this part to be parallel, make kind of a line down it. So I can do that either with my scraper or my gouge. Let's see what happens if, hey. That's again why you leave a little extra space. You can then even things out. And God forbid that I should have made a hump or a dip in this. And I've got to go back and just even that out. The number 1 decoration that I do almost consistently is around this joint between the lid and the box. I will put a little bit of a V groove and in this case I'm hoping that my V groove is deep on both sides. So that pretty well, it's not very smooth. I should sand it. Not tonight. Yes. So now is it stay straight? You did. So now I've got the outside of the box pretty much done. I've got the lip done. The only other thing is to hollow out the box. And I do it the same way as I did the lid. For some reason, I brought my detail gouge with a very sharp point to it. No idea what I'm going to use it for tonight, but I didn't want to stay home alone. If this is too boring, let me know. Oh, okay.
What do you put right now in about a third size?
And people would ask me, why don't you just use a Forstner bit? Because I'm fully retired and time is not an issue. And if I use a Forstner bit, then every one that I use that Forstner bit, it's going to be the same diameter on the inside. This way, I know that this is, shall I say, handcrafted. Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to put it. And a part of this noise is because I am trying to take too big a bite, and it gets too much vibration. So if I slow down, that's part of being left-handed. You always turn things the wrong way. Uh, you guys hear that squeal? I got hearing aids a week ago. It's it's twice as bad for me. Come on, darn you. For tonight's purposes, it's almost deep enough. And that is one thing that you do have to be concerned with. You're using a thinner piece of steel here, and it's going to vibrate the farther off the tool rest it gets. So I should have brought my 1/2 inch gouge. You could. I don't know how you would use a box scraper to hollow out the center part.
No, I mean, after you got it home.
Yeah. Yes. Hmm. For tonight, we're going to throw the golden ratio out the window. I'm marking the bottom of the box inside and add 1/4 inch to the bottom of the box. And which is only about 1/4 inch off anyway. And again, do the same maneuver that I did with the lid to get the wall finished up. Yeah, I better turn it off before I try and measure, shouldn't I? Okay, from the top, you would be able to see that it's slanted in. So I don't have a straight side. I'm just going to make it straight for this box. This one I could fill with little hard candies and give it to my grandson. And I know I'm not supposed to let stuff pile up here on the table, on the ways of the bed. Oh, just one more. Yeah. So typical, just one more cut. So duck, guys. Got those typical rings around the bottom. So, mm, now I got a real big dimple in there. Oh, I got plenty of time. I'm trying to get rid of a high point in the middle with it goes from the side down like this and up. And so it's kind of screwy configuration. Would not be pleasant to show you guys how the product is supposed to look. Oh, put the other tool on. It's closer to a decoration than a fault. Hey, come. It really helps sometimes if you have enough light. I have several people tell me, oh, getting that dimple out of the bottom of the box is real easy. And what I will do with this box is have kind of a rounded bottom. Too bad. Where did you go? Huh. A problem eraser. That should do it. Now, when I started cleaning this up, it was that deep. It is, well, let's just measure it. There it is. It's 7/16. Didn't waste too much wood down there. One and a half. So now the next easy part, I'm going to part off the box. I should have brought my Harbor Freight saw. All right. Now for one of the next to the last steps, I've got to make a jam chuck right here for this. And I usually will go to the inside, even though I've got a lip, I could do it on the outside. I will cut it down to the inside. Just for the halibut. It makes more sawdust for the guys who have to clean up. What do I use? Don't bother putting it away. You're gonna need it again. Kind of close. And yes, this time I'm using skill. Probably shouldn't do this, but the object there was to try and get a line to burn onto this, and it didn't do a very good job of it. Patience is a virtue, so they say. No, you're not going to fit quite there either. Waste some more of their time, Bill. You know, this time it's going to be too loose. Why are you being so stubborn? Maybe if I even tried to line up the grain, and that didn't work. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just take it down a little bit too loose, and then show you how I use two special tools, saliva and tape. Does anybody not know why I put saliva on that? It makes the wood swell a little bit. Didn't help much, but the nice part about doing it this way is I got plenty of wood when I do that. Not quite. Pat, this is not what I learned at the symposium.
Ever got water instead of saliva?
No?
I found that it wets the wood more and the fibers flow more with water than saliva.
Okay. Well, now it fits. I will try water the next time. And again, for doing the bottoms, I go back to my round nose scraper, or somewhat round. Absolutely. Just across. Nope, center's too high. Perfectly flat. We'll try again. And now, my favorite decorating tool. A couple of things that I did not do that I really want to do. Again, I like to have a little bit of a where the two pieces meet. So if I can find my skew again. My pencil have an eraser. Pencil no. Well, I can't find my eraser, so solution to that is if I'm lucky, almost fits together. Yeah. Bill didn't take enough off of this lip to make them fit. What I can use. That's what I can use. Now I really do need to sand it. Madam President,
If you wanted to make that a loose fit box, how would you?
I would take and sand, or no, not sand. I would use a bidan on the inside lip and just
What box up here would you? Hide your,
Mhm.
that's how you would fit that.
Yeah.
Okay, I put it on here.
Yeah, I would take a little bit off of here. It's easier to grip this without making too many more points than it is to grip this one. So I would take a little bit off of this. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Didn't think about that. See, that's why I come to these meetings.
When do you finish your box?
I usually will use an oil finish, but several of these boxes are quite old. I mean, this one's 2010, and I think I used an oil finish, but I'm not sure. And it was back in the days when I didn't worry too much about perfection on the inside. So, yeah, this one at 2014 is finished a lot better. That's what age will do to you. I use a threading jig by Craftware, and it is time consuming. There's a few extra steps because you start by making the threads in the lid. Then you have to measure exactly the diameter of those threads, add just enough so that when you put this then becomes a little fatter than this, and you cut the threads in this one, and if you did it right and you calculated right, they screw right together. And I will leave it up to whoever's doing presentations or something else, if there's enough interest in doing a demo or a how class in threading. So, you're welcome. All that with only one joke. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's the wrong one. Took out my hearing aid.